welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. First off, I just want to say, sorry it took me a long time to beat this game. It came back, I think it came out back in September. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was really struggling to finish this game. Most of the game, actually all of the games that you guys see me talk about, all the games that I make videos about, are all games that I have finished, right? So I don't usually make a video unless I finish the game. I gotta tell you, this one was... It took me about 25 hours to beat the game, and man, it took me a long time, right? So we'll get into it. But before we get into it, guys, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to watch my videos. If you guys haven't already, drop a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, we do stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well as Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. And those are both, or actually all of those are Mountain Time. So make sure that you guys are subscribed so that way you can be notified whenever we go live. Starting off with the story for Echoes of Wisdom. So the story here is almost like the inverse of all of the other Legend of Zelda characters, where instead of Link going and being the hero and saving Zelda, it's flipped around where Link ends up getting captured and us as Zelda try to save him and rescue him, right? The world that we're in has been taken over by these like rifts, these dark matter rifts. I forget what they're actually called in the story. I think they're called rifts. Basically, Link is getting captured and they make like evil doppelganger of him, and he's going around causing havoc, capturing more townsfolk and whatnot. And we ourselves eventually get captured by the king because he becomes evil, corrupted by this same rift stuff. And that's when we get introduced to our first character that is kind of a big part of it is Tri. Tri's like this little orb golden dude, and he ends up giving Zelda a staff, which is our primary weapon, is what we use for the entire game, and it's the Tri staff. As far as gameplay goes, I mentioned this a little bit, the Tri staff is what we're using 99% of the time, and with that you can, there's a lot of things that you can copy. You'll see that they got a little sparkle around it. You can create boxes, beds, different types of enemies. Anytime you beat a new enemy, you can copy it and use it to help fight other enemies for you. And depending on how many triangles it takes to summon, that determines how many you can summon, right? So the boxes and rocks and stuff like that will take one. So if you got 6 triangles, which I believe is the max, you can summon 6 of these boxes and whatnot. And some of the enemies is, require different this and that triangles. And that's kind of like the main gameplay loop, is that you're just summoning these different items and different enemies to either help you fight for you. Because that's kind of the big thing, is that Zelda there's not really a whole lot of combat here. There is and there isn't, right? So Zelda's main combat, like offensive abilities, is that one, she can summon different enemies to help fight for her, or 2, she can transform into Link. Early in the game, you pick up Link's sword and shield, and once you have enough of this mana meter or whatever you want to call it, she basically transforms into into Link and fights off the enemies until the bar goes down, or if you get more of these orbs to fill up your mana, which is kind of a bummer because I don't know. I was just really hoping that this is the first game where you get to play as Zelda. And the entire time, like her big powerful move basically is that she turns into Link to fight the enemy. So I thought that was kind of lame. I was hoping that, I don't know, she'd maybe be able to do stuff with her staff or something like that. But if you're not turning into Link, you're basically summoning a bunch of minions to help fight for you. Most of the game here is just doing puzzles, right? You're trying to get through different levels. You're trying to get through these different dark matter rift things and clearing them out so they can find more of Tri's buddies. And as you do so, you get more triangles. Some of them give you a whole extra triangles. Some of them just make it cheaper for you to summon certain things, like certain enemies. Instead of being 3 triangles to summon, and they're now 2. And that's basically the gameplay loop. And you do that basically for 25 hours. But that's basically it. What you're doing, the gameplay loop at the very first hour of the game is essentially what you're doing at the 20th hour of the game. And I can only make so many bed bridges. I'm kidding you not. There's so many times where I needed to get a big distance and I summoned like 4 or 5 beds just to get across because the beds are long. Like I know there's probably other options out there, but like I'm sure everyone that's played this one has probably made a million bed bridges and done the box from the box to the tree, and from the tree to another tree. So like everyone, I feel like everyone could probably does the same things for the gameplay loop. But that's another thing, is that like that's most of this game is just solving the puzzles and trying to get through these areas. There is combat, but it's more of like Zelda's like the support character, if that makes sense. You're standing back and you're summoning minions to help fight your battles for you. You're not necessarily fighting them yourselves. Which kind of leads me to the boss fights. The boss fights, you do in a way fight them. They do have a lot more of those blue orbs that help, so that you can turn into Link, because you only have so many time, because it does kind of tick down. And so the boss fights I thought were generally, okay. They're very much the same thing. You wait till they get stuck and you can go smack them around, or you use Zelda to try to grab them and stun them, or hold them so that your minions can go smack them. And that's just kind of like the majority of the boss fights, other than like the last boss fight. The last boss fight was actually quite enjoyable, but most of the time, just like I said with the combat, you're mainly just summoning other dudes to help fight you, and you're just kind of walking around and trying not to die while summoning things. Like I did turn into Zelda or Link quite a few times, but like I said, you're just mainly fighting off other dudes and whatnot until your mana refills. I don't know if it's necessarily open world. It's kind of smaller, but it's a pretty big map, and you can pretty much go anywhere right off the bat for the most part. There are some areas where you do need to have a few more like triangles to get across. But as far as like the areas, like I said, the main thing you're going around and clearing out all of these different like rift places. And taking them out. And after you do that 4 times, you basically do it 4 more times. And after you do that, then you got to find the 3 goddesses of the world, so that they all can help give you the power of the Triforce, right? To help take out the big baddie at the end. And I don't know, like that's what I'm saying is like I thought that this game was fun in the first few hours, but man, it just kind of drags on where you're just doing this. I just felt like I was doing the same thing in a different area each time. You go to the Gerudo Valley and then you go to the ocean, but you're essentially just doing the same thing. You're just clearing it out, trying to find more of Tri's buddies so that you can get more triangles to summon more things, right? Like I felt like deja vu quite a bit while playing this game. Last thing that I do want to talk about though is the game's performance. For the most part, the game ran fine. When you're in the open area parts, there was quite a few times where it just glitched, and I could see the frames dropping pretty bad. But other than that, I didn't have any game crashes. No issues really with that, other than just like the open world stuff. Like I said, I personally did not really enjoy this game as much. A lot of people are giving this game like high 90s, 8s and 9s, and I'm just like, man, like I'm just not feeling it. Like when you even compare this to just Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, which I know is a high bar, right? I just feel like this one falls way down below. Like this is the type of game that I played when I had a long day at work and I just wanted to shut my brain off and not really think. This is kind of the game that you get. Just for me, I just found it extremely hard to get through, extremely tedious and repetitive. Although I will say that the beginning of it I was having a good time the first, hour or two, but that's another thing is that I feel like this game completely overstays its welcome. This game is like 25 hours. At least that's what it said on my Switch. When I finally rolled the credits and I had beaten the game, it said 25 hours. And I just feel like that is just way too long. If this was like a 10-hour game, maybe my thoughts might be a little bit different, but for 25 hours, I can only make so many bed bridges for 25 hours before I start losing my mind. Another thing is that I feel like this game is completely forgettable. That might ruffle some feathers, and people might not like that I have to say that. But realistically, this game made no splash. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I haven't heard anybody post about it. I haven't seen any game clips. I haven't really seen anything. And normally, like the last Zelda game, dude, it was all over. And that's another thing. I think in a year from now, like people are not going to be talking about this game. Like there's people still talking about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I just don't see this game being brought up in very many Zelda conversations. I think this one falls far below. And I don't know. With that said, guys, I think I'm going to give Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom a 6 out of 10. I think it does some good stuff. I do like the puzzles are decent and the world is fine, but I think ultimately the things that really drag this game down for me is it's really repetitive. The story is also repetitive and just kind of like it's a shut your brain off kind of game. Like the story is very easy to follow, not too much depth to it. and then just the combat, like, I don't know. I was just hoping everything about this game. I was just hoping for more, and it just kind of seemed like this was a very safe game. Like, they didn't take. I don't know. That's another thing too. Is like I feel like the game overstayed its welcome. I think that the game is extremely forgettable, and that in a few months from now, that people are just not going to remember this game. And it still blows my mind that I've seen such high reviews for this game that I'm like, I just don't see how people are saying that this is a 9 out of 10 experience. I don't see how people are, like, I think on Metacritic and OpenCritic, it's got like, I just can't see how people gave it such a high score. And like I said, these are all personal opinions, so those people might enjoy it. I might be on the spectrum that really didn't like it. So with that said, guys, that is going to be the end of our Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom review. Let me know down in the comments below if I'm wrong. Roast me if you want to. I personally think that this game falls far below. With that said, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember that we do stream every Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. as well as Wednesday at 7. So make sure you guys are subscribed, and we'll see you guys on the next video.